With more on the impact this is having in the already volatile region, I'm joined by George Friedman. He is the chairman of Geopolitical Futures, a foreign policy analysis and forecasting publication, and he joins me live from Austin, Texas. What do you make of the latest allies jumping along with Saudi Arabia against Iran, George?
Well, all they've done is cut diplomatic relations. Well, that sounds dramatic. It doesn't mean a whole lot. 100 years ago, it meant that there'd be no discussions going on between the two countries. There will be discussions between the two countries. It just won't take place through normal diplomatic channels. That's not really where this crisis is at. This crisis is in Saudi Arabia.
All right, walk me through why.
Saudi Arabia has a social contract internally built around the high price of oil. They guarantee all sorts of things from education to pensions to everything else at lavish levels. Oil prices have plunged. They are now hard-pressed to continue that. Also, in the eastern region of Saudi Arabia, it is predominantly Shiite. They remember the uprising in Bahrain during the Arab Spring. They're terrified that with this economic destabilization, the Shiites might rise with support from the Iranians. That's why they executed not just this man, but 48 other Shiites as a message to the Shiites that they're very serious. If they rise, they're going to be crushed. The Iranians responded by setting a small fire in the embassy. The Saudis cut off relations with them. But the really important thing to watch here is what is the impact on declining oil prices on the already shaky stability of the region.
And what does the Saudi actions tell you about it, how worried it is about oil prices?
I think it's very worried about oil prices, not because they haven't seen numbers like this, but this time it appears that it's going to last for quite a while. What we saw out of China today was terrifying to the Saudis. 7% decline in their stock market means that China is not coming back online buying oil very soon. And this oil price drop really had one of its major roots in failure of Chinese expectations of growth.
You know, I'm talking to you there in the United States, and let me pose this question for you. Does Saudi Arabia want to dangle a carrot, or is it even a carrot, to have the U.S. involved in this?
Oh, absolutely. The Saudis were terrified, far more than the Israelis, about the deal the United States made with Iran and the fact that Iran and the United States were getting close. Since the Russian intervention in Syria, the Iranians have become more hostile to the United States, and the Iranians have come closer to the Russians, changing somewhat the American perspective. They very much hope to return to the old relationship where Saudi Arabia, threatened by anybody, is going to be defended by the United States. The United States has a strategy of keeping their hands off, of stepping back and letting it all develop. You know, a lot of the world has said the United States should stop making trouble in the Middle East. Well, this is what it looks like when the United States stops.
Let me ask you this final question. What are you going to be watching for then, and what should we be watching for as well as a news organization in the coming days?
I think there won't be any military action of any significant sort. I would absolutely be judging what happens in Saudi Arabia by what happens in China. If this meltdown in the market continues, if we enter a new phase of a Chinese downturn, all hopes of higher oil prices are going to be dashed. And with that, the Saudi royal family is going to have to make some very painful decisions they haven't had to face since World War II.
I thank you for that and for your time, George. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Political scientist George Friedman in Austin, Texas.